it's not just me and God, but it's us as a congregation. And when we sing, we're singing to one another. And that's crucial to remember that. In fact, this is perhaps one of the clearest mandates in the New Testament for corporate gathered worship. We're to sing to one another. We're not singing to ourselves. It's not just my own experience. I don't come just to get my own experience in the presence of God, but I come because I'm with my brothers and sisters, and we're singing to one another. And that has a major implication. It means that the hymns and the songs that we sing should be as accessible as possible to the entire congregation. The hymns must be understandable if we're singing to one another. It doesn't mean that we therefore dumb down the language or that we sing lyrics that are childish, but equally, it does mean that you shouldn't need a first-class honours in classics from Oxford in order to understand what we're singing. There are some great old hymns that contain words that need to be explained. It doesn't mean we stop singing, but we need to explain some of the things that we sing maybe at times. If everyone is to sing with understanding. We are commanded in 1 Corinthians 14 to sing with understanding. So we're singing to one another, and that means that we need to be able to understand what we're singing. So there may be theological words. We don't abandon those words, but we have to explain them. Words like justified or salvation or righteousness. And it also means that we are to resist the temptation to reject everything that is seen as old and traditional in an effort to be so-called relevant, which might be relevant today, but in 5 years' time probably won't be relevant. That's the problem with being relevant, isn't it? So we need to remember, I think as well as that we need to remember our solidarity with the Christians, the procession of Christians, the Christian church down through the centuries. I mean, how wonderful that the Praise Book contains a hymn by Augustine. So our hymns are to reflect the fact that we're part of the Church of Christ across the centuries. And there is, I think, something deeply comforting about that in this so-called postmodern age in which we live. We live in a day when people feel uprooted from history, a loss of meaning and of identity and of significance. A day in which people are looking for something real or authentic, something which has a sense of history. It is hugely comforting. Immensely comforting, living as we do in an instant world in which what is in this year is out next year, to sing hymns that were sung by Christians 100, 300, 1,000 years ago. We need that. But of course, some of our older hymns contain words that no longer mean very much to the average person today, and maybe need, where we can, as much as possible, to explain.